Hi, everyone. How you doing? The meeting's going to begin in a few minutes. So we encourage anyone who's joining via Zoom to just take this short survey that we have for you on our screen with the QR code that's being displayed along with the link. So yeah, we're going to get started in a few minutes. I'd also like to note that we have both live captioning and American Sign Language interpretation available for everybody who's attending tonight. Our ASL interpreter is going to be visible at all points in this meeting in a window on your screen. And just as a reminder to turn on captioning, just look for the CC button on the bottom of your screen in the Zoom settings menu. So if you have any questions about meeting accessibility, feel free to use the chat and we'll do our best to address them as quickly as possible. Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. How you doing? My name is Nick Fasano. I'm the Assistant Director of Government and Community Relations at the MTA Long Island Railroad. So welcome to our third public virtual meeting on Long Island Railroad service into Grand Central Madison. So just as brief background, we released our draft timetables on June 2nd, and they're available on the MTA's website. And the goal of this meeting is to ensure that our customers understand how our service is going to change when we launch this new service plan at the end of the year. So tonight's session is going to be recorded and will be available on our website. And this is our sixth public session. And prior to this session, we had 3 information sessions, which featured a panel of us talking about the new service and the terminal. And we had 2 public meetings where we allowed the public to comment on our service plans. So if you'd like to see any of the presentations that were made previously, just go to, I'll drop the link in the chat as well. It's https://new.mta.info/Grand Central Madison, where all those can be found. And before we begin our public comment portion of tonight's meeting, you're going to hear remarks from Interim President of Long Island Railroad and President of Metro North Railroad, Kathy Rinaldi, and she's going to speak about the transformative nature of this project and what it means for Long Island Railroad, Metro North, and then just regional connectivity as a whole. And I guess, again, a reminder, especially to those who are new and have not attended a meeting yet, but these are draft schedules and we're at the very beginning of our public engagement process. So we're just really grateful that you're here with us and taking time out of your evening to learn more about these schedules and learn more about this expanded service. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy. And so Kathy, take it away, please.
Thanks, Nick, and good evening, everybody. I'm happy to be here tonight at our 6th public session on the recently announced Grand Central Madison draft schedules. And I've said at each of the other public sessions, these are draft schedules and we are listening. While there are physical limitations based upon the Long Island Railroad's infrastructure, we will adjust schedules if possible, and we will continue to push for those infrastructure needs with municipal governments that will benefit Long Island Railroad customers. But now I want to talk about the myriad benefits that this transformative project will deliver to Long Islanders. This is a fantastic and exciting time for the Long Island Railroad, and it is an honor to lead this organization at this historic time. It is a time in which massive transformation projects that have long been promised are about to come to reality. Constraints that have long put a ceiling on how much service the Long Island Railroad can operate are falling away as we bring online 2 long-awaited mega projects that are designed to improve Long Islanders' commutes and make Long Island a more competitive business destination. Mainline third track, which is going to be activated in segments throughout the year, and service to Long Island Railroad's new terminal at Grand Central, scheduled to begin by the end of 2022. As Nick said, the draft timetables were released in June, and they give definition to the magnitude of the service increases that both third track and Grand Central Madison service will unlock. Their release has also allowed customers like you to start thinking about what their travel could look like after they have the option to take the train to Grand Central Madison. Travel for Long Island Railroad customers will potentially be very different. There is no question about that. But for Long Island residents who work on the East Side, this project is a game changer. The project opens up new travel options for employees of financial institutions in East Midtown and for doctors and other essential medical employees who work at the many major medical centers on the East Side. Commutes will be reduced by up to 40 minutes per day. But even for those who do not work on the East Side, the project gives them more choice and more flexibility. Customers who currently take existing Long Island Railroad service to Penn and then take the 2 or the 3 train to employment centers further downtown will now have the option of taking Long Island Railroad service to GCM with the transfer of the 4, 5, or 6 to some of those same downtown employment destinations. For Long Island Railroad customers attending Broadway shows, instead of being limited to Penn, they can choose to take a GCM train and then take a quick walk over to Times Square along 42nd Street. This flexibility simply does not exist today. It is no exaggeration to say that as the result of these new GCM-bound trains, there's no railroad or public transportation system in America that is getting bigger service increases than the Long Island Railroad will be getting in a few short months. In one stroke, we are increasing service by approximately 40%. The number of morning rush hour trains into Manhattan will increase by 58%, from 76 trains to 120 trains. The number of afternoon rush hour trains from Manhattan to Long Island will increase from 98 trains to 158 trains. And the number of reverse commute trains will increase by 65%, from 81 to 134. Having robust service into a second Manhattan terminal allows for operations to continue in the event of any sort of disruption at Penn and minimizes the disruptions that will result from Amtrak's East River Tunnel Rehabilitation Project, which is scheduled to begin in early 2024 and could take more than 3 years to complete. The proposed schedules that we released in June accommodate that Amtrak work so that there will not be a need to further reduce service when the work begins in a couple of years. The opening of Grand Central Madison later this year provides a permanent home for the Long Island Railroad in Manhattan that is not shared with other operations, unlike Penn. Long Island Railroad and Metro North train operations in the terminal will be completely separate, and a delay or incident on one railroad should not spill over into the other. And the importance of the connectivity between the 2 railroads cannot be overstated. The ability to use Grand Central as a transfer point between the 2 railroads all of a sudden makes it possible for businesses in Queens and Long Island to attract prospective employees from the Bronx and points north. This interconnectivity between the railroads allows for greater discretionary and leisure travel between the 2 systems, attracting Westchester residents to Long Island beaches and wineries in the summer, and Long Island residents to Hudson Valley hiking destinations in the fall. For those of you who will continue to use Penn Station, it will mean an easier and more pleasant experience because it will be a less crowded experience, with up to 50% of Long Island riders expected to shift their patterns over to Grand Central Madison. In conclusion, I want to thank all of you for joining us here tonight. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to say about the new schedules. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Nick to begin the public comment period.
All right, I was muted there. Sorry about that. Okay, great. Thank you, Kathy. That was awesome. All right, so now, as Kathy said, we're going to begin the public comment portion of tonight's meeting. So the way this will work is I'm going to call the names of 2 individuals, people who have registered to speak, the order of which they're registered. And everybody who's on the call right now is muted, and you will be unmuted when you are called on to speak. If you don't want to have video on, that's totally fine. That's totally up to you. You're going to notice a brief transition period when we elevate you into a speaking role. So, don't be alarmed. Just give it a second, and please be patient with us. Also, when you begin speaking, if you could please just give us your name and any affiliation you'd like to state for the record, that would be awesome. And please keep your remarks to 2 minutes. I know sometimes it's hard, but I do ask that out of respect to everybody on this call that you do so, because we do want to give everyone a fair chance to speak and opine on this. So you can also, and I'll drop this in the chat because it's a very difficult link to read out, but there's also a way that you can give us public comments online, which I will again share. And you can visit the project page, which I had up earlier, for more information on the service, proposed schedules, and the new terminal. And just the last piece of information for you is that we have a number of employees from both the MTA and Long Island Railroad on to answer any questions that you might have that, just either you can't get to them during your remarks or, you want to ask more questions. Just please use the Q&A function and we will get to you as soon as possible. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to begin tonight's public comment, and we are going to start with Manhattan Borough President Marco Levine, followed by Supervisor Jen DeSena of Town of North Hempstead. So, Mr. Borough President, take it away.
Thank you so much, Nick. Sorry for the little delay there. Thank you, President Rinaldi. It's great to see all of you here tonight. I am Mark Levine, Manhattan Borough President. I want to thank the MTA for hosting this hearing, the second of 2 additional hearings held to inform riders of changes to LIRR service with the opening of Grand Central Madison at the end of this year. Quite simply, I believe this project will be an enormous boost to Manhattan, to Long Island, and to the entire region. Overall, LIRR service into Manhattan will increase 40% during the morning rush hour, while service back to Long Island will increase 61% during the evening. This large increase in service will save office workers and other employees as much as 40 minutes daily in commute time, which will help us achieve our priority of making it easier for people to return to in-person office work. Out of the trains coming into the borough, 45% of the soon-to-be increased service will come into Grand Central Madison, thus making it easier to achieve our goals at Penn Station, including redevelopment of that station and relieving overcrowding there. And for Manhattanites who had previously struggled to reverse commute to job opportunities in Long Island, the LIRR will increase reverse commute trains by 57%. Whatever direction commuters are moving in, the net impact of all these numbers is that train service and reliability will greatly increase, leading to shorter wait times at stations and shorter commutes overall. It's been a very long road to get here, no doubt. Construction of Grand Central Madison took longer and cost more than expected. The headlines have not always been great, but now we are at last just inches from the finish line. And news of the LIRR's proposals for service upgrades now makes the benefits clearer than ever for Manhattanites, for employers in the borough, and for people coming here from Long Island to work and play. I truly look forward to the terminal's opening at the end of the year. And again, I want to thank the MTA for holding this hearing. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Borough President. Okay, so next we're going to have Supervisor Jen DeSena, followed by Assembly Member Ed Braunstein. Supervisor?
Okay. Hi, sorry for that shift. Good evening. Thank you for holding these hearings tonight and for adding a few extras. I believe that it's because of so many of our residents who have reached out to speak. And I want to thank all of our residents who have taken the time to speak on this very important issue to us. I am Jennifer DeSena, the town supervisor of the town of North Hempstead. And since these proposed changes were announced, countless residents have come to me to speak in great detail about how this will negatively affect their daily life. In fact, as a Manhasset resident for 22 years, whose husband and now son have relied on the Port Washington branch daily, my family will personally feel the negative effects of the proposed schedule as well. The Port Washington branch has long been considered the gold standard for commuting into New York City. Thousands of residents here in the town of North Hempstead have paid a premium to purchase homes to take advantage of this line. These proposed service cuts will impact all of these thousands of riders, potentially leading to decreased home values, increased congestion, and an overall negative effect on our quality of life. Last month, I hosted a meeting between the town and interim president, Long Island Railroad President Catherine Rinaldi, and representatives, where all of this was said and more. Most importantly, I made it known to President Rinaldi that even though the MTA and Long Island Railroad may have had a strained relationship with the town under past administrations due to a lack of foresight and unwillingness to sit down, to compromise, I am willing to sit down and work to consider every option available to provide expanded rail service for our residents. As these discussions continue between the Long Island Railroad and the town, I'm urging the Long Island Railroad to show some good faith and restore the peak express service cuts. This can very easily be done with a few minor shifts in the proposed schedule, reestablishing Great Neck as the location for the local express split on the trains to Penn Station instead of shifting it to Bayside. By making that simple change, express service to Penn Station can be saved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Supervisor. So next we're going to have Assembly Member Ed Braunstein, followed by Nassau County Legislator Melissa Pilla. Assembly Member.
Good evening. My name is Ed Braunstein, and I am the Assembly Member representing the 26th District in Northeast Queens. I want to thank Interim President of the Long Island Railroad, Catherine Rinaldi, the MTA administrators, and all of you on the panel for taking this opportunity to solicit feedback on the newly proposed Long Island Railroad lines, Long Island Railroad schedules, as necessitated by the implementation of East Side Access, a long-awaited transformative project that will vastly improve commute times and travel flexibility for many of the constituents I represent. The 26th Assembly District does not have any subway service, but it is home to 5 Long Island Railroad stations: Little Neck, Douglaston, Bayside, Auburndale, and Broadway. For many commuters in Northeast Queens, the Long Island Railroad is the quickest and most reliable way to travel into Manhattan. The proposed schedule we are discussing today, the first substantial revision in decades, will increase service at all 5 of these stations, provide more options and flexibility to Queens riders, and encourage increased ridership on the Long Island Railroad. It is my hope that any revisions to the proposed schedule will likewise offer Northeast Queens residents the Long Island Railroad service that they deserve. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to share my thoughts.
Great. Thank you, Assembly Member. So next up, we're going to have Legislator Melissa Pilla, followed by Michael Gilbert. Legislator, if you could accept the invitation to speak. If not, we'll move to the next. We'll move to Michael, but I'll give you another minute, a couple seconds here. There we go. So yeah, you're muted right now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. Mazi Philip, County Legislator, 10th District. I would like to thank all of you for hosting another meeting to hear about our concern. The new project of the Grand Central is very exciting. However, the new schedule will really badly will impact our residents. I agree 100% with our supervisor points. I myself was getting a lot of calls, emails, and messages from our residents, and I really want the MTA to consider to keep some of our express line. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Legislator. Next, we're going to have Michael Gilbert, followed by Andrew Moyne.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for, again, giving everybody an opportunity to be heard and to talk about this important issue. Like many of the people you've heard from in these sessions, I ride the Port Washington line. I find that the proposal to cancel the express train service is completely unacceptable. I truly hope that the MTA, through this process, has heard loud and clear that express service is a fundamental part of life in these towns on the Port Washington branch and has been so for generations. I really can't understand how, after spending 11 billion taxpayer dollars, the MTA would propose to simply cancel that service completely and then insist, as we've heard tonight repeatedly, that they're increasing service by 40%. It simply is not the case. I'm also very disheartened to have heard some of the comments from the MTA in the press that seeks to place blame for the canceling of the express service on the town of North Hempstead and how they dealt with a proposal to expand the Port Washington Yard years ago. From everything I can understand, that has absolutely nothing to do with the express service. The number of trains that run on the line is one issue. We're talking about the number of stops each of those trains make, and that's a scheduling decision that has been made by the MTA with, from what I can tell, absolutely no data to support making that drastic change that impacts so many people. So I, again, urge the MTA. I thank you for your attention to this, and again, I thank you for the opportunity to be heard, and I truly hope that the voices of our communities will have an impact on your decisions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Michael. So next we're gonna have Andrew Moyne, followed by Jamie Franchi.
Good evening, and thank you for holding this meeting. My name is Andrew Moyne. I've been riding the Long Island Railroad for over 30 years, and I currently take the Port Washington branch to work. Thanks to the fast express service, I have just enough time in the morning to help my children get dressed, read them a book, and make sure they have breakfast and their vitamins before driving to the station. The new draft schedule changes everything. Because of the 39-minute gap between trains to Penn Station, to make it to work on time, I'll need to take a train that is 23 minutes earlier and 11 minutes longer. I will be lucky to quickly hustle my sons into their clothes and rush out the door. When I first heard about Eastside Access, I was very excited, but I never imagined that our trains would be divided in half and the expresses eliminated, slowing commutes and creating massive gaps in service. From Great Neck to Port Washington, ESA is nothing short of devastating. I understand that many years ago, local officials made some short-sighted decisions about track expansion, long before many of us commuted on this branch. Some have said these service cuts are our punishment for local considerations standing in the way of train service. I ask that you not make us pay for the mistakes of others, and that you defer the imposition of ESA on the Port Washington branch until infrastructure is expanded to mitigate its harm. Please do not take away our express trains and superb service, and please don't take valuable time away from our family. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. So next we're gonna have Jamie Franchi, followed by David Chaverdi.
Hi there, good evening. My name is Jamie Frankie. I am Communications and Government Relations Director for Long Island Contractors Association. I want to thank you all so much for opening up public comments on this issue. Leica applauds the major advancements that Grand Central Madison and Third Project have created for the region. We all know that the obstacles that the MTA, the Long Island Railroad, and those who've supported mega projects like these have faced and worked to overcome. That progress has been the result of compromise, vision, and a willingness to listen to the commuters who utilize public transit every day. We know these timetables have been a massive undertaking to coordinate not only those who use the railroad, but the workers and the complex mechanism that something of this magnitude takes. The increase in ridership that Eastside Access will provide will be transformative for the region. We understand that the timetables and scheduling is a work in progress, and that there will be hiccups and adjustments as we all go forward. We appreciate the work that has gone into this endeavor so far and applaud the increased service this will provide. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Next, we're going to have David Shaverdi, followed by Patrick McClellan. David, make sure you're accepting our invitation to speak if possible. Otherwise, we're going to move on and we can get back to you. Oh, there you are. Yep, you're muted. There you go.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
My name is David Shaverdi. Thank you for setting this up and hearing from the different constituents. I've been a lifelong resident of Great Neck, New York, and I've been commuting into Manhattan for many, many years. I'm also a father with 3 children in public school here in Great Neck. And the proposed schedule would really severely negatively affect my ability to be able to drop off my children in school and to make it to work on time. Looking at the proposed schedule, it cuts down train service from Great Neck to Manhattan or to Penn Station from 6 to 3 within the hours of 7:30 to 8:30. To be honest, I don't see where the rush is in rush hour because you're not rushing to get people into Penn Station. Again, this will severely impact my ability to be able to take care of my children in the morning and arrive to work on time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, David. So next we're going to have Patrick McClellan, followed by Mayor Horn. Patrick, I think you're muted.
There we go. Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment. My name is Patrick McClellan. I'm the Policy Director for the New York League of Conservation Voters. We're a statewide environmental advocacy organization. This project is long overdue, and we're pleased that the MTA is prepared to immediately take advantage of this opportunity to increase Long Island Railroad service by 40%. This is important for achieving the state's goals of achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions economy-wide by 2050, because achieving that goal requires significant mode shift away from automobiles and towards public transit. Running more frequent service, cutting travel times for some commuters, easing congestion at Penn Station, and increasing reverse peak service are all options enabled by this project that will make taking the Long Island Railroad more attractive for commuters both in Long Island and in the 5 boroughs. We're of course sympathetic to existing commuters whose schedules are going to change. We hope that those disruptions can be minimized, but the options here we think are still an enormous net benefit, both for commuters and for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. This project also opens up new opportunities for commuters in Queens, many of whom have relatively easy access to the Long Island Railroad, but are in neighborhoods that are poorly served by the New York City subway system. Many of these commuters currently either drive to work or they take long and convoluted commutes that are hybrid of buses and subways. And so being able to take the Long Island Railroad will be a boon to those commuters. We do think that That means that this is a good opportunity for the MTA to reevaluate the feasibility of either allowing city ticket to be used during peak hours or to develop some other similar discounted ticket program for intra-city travel on the Long Island Railroad. And then finally, in order for all current and potential LIRR commuters to benefit from this project, we urge the MTA to announce a timeline for the electrification of all of the Long Island Railroad branches. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick. So next, we're going to have Mayor Horn, followed by Felicia Park Rogers. Mayor. Mayor, you're muted as an FYI.
Okay, thank you. My name is Mayor Horn. I am a transportation planner and engineer who worked on the railroad modernization program when MTA took control of the railroad. And I have been involved at various times since, including with senior management and even had some as students. At one point, I represented New York State in dealing with the MTA and the railroad. I have submitted written comments. Here are just the highlights. Congratulations on completing East Side Access. The operations plan has two positive features. Headways are more uniform, stopping patterns are more consistent. Yet these accomplishments are outweighed by the following negative features of the operations plan. One, peak period stopping patterns increase travel time. You have heard from Port Washington commuters. It is much worse from Huntington. Implement Zone Express. For example, all trains from Port Washington express from Great Neck. All trains from Great Neck express from Grace Bayside, etc. Two, direct service to Brooklyn should be retained and expanded. Your proposal would lead to the abandonment of this line. Three, timed connections at Jamaica should be an essential feature of the operations plan. Four, with the Zone Express on the line from Babylon, Huntington, and Ronkonkoma to both Penn and Grand Central, the Brooklyn trains would provide intra-island local service as well as direct service to Brooklyn. Unless the railroad agrees to promptly address the serious defects of its operations plan, the governor should do the same thing he did for the Port Authority's LaGuardia Air Train Plan. Send it back for further study. Please get busy now and make this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So next, we're going to have Felicia Park Rogers, followed by Mayor Allen Beach. Felicia, I think you're muted.
Hi, my name is Felicia Park Rogers, and I'm the Director of Regional Infrastructure Projects for Tri-State Transportation Campaign, a regional policy, research, and advocacy organization working to improve access, equity, and the environment through transportation and transit in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. I'm here tonight to voice my support for this project, which will provide critical mobility and access for the residents and riders of Long Island and Queens to one of the world's densest employment centers. Grand Central Madison will create a more than 40% overall increase in LIRR service, including more frequent service on the Ronkonkoma and West Hempstead branches, more trains in the early morning and late evening rush hours, and better reverse commuting options to Long Island for both work, recreation, and social reasons. This new connectivity will lead to more evenly spaced trains and fewer large gaps in service. Crucially for workers and riders in Queens, it will provide desperately needed additional and more frequent service to and from Midtown East. This is critical for improving equity, reducing car use and its subsequent congestion and pollution, and to create access for a large number of New York residents. Many LIRR commuters work in the area of Midtown East, so even if their train makes a few stops in Queens, East Side Access will provide a significant time savings by eliminating the need for long walk or subway transfer at Penn Station. For people who do continue to need to use Penn Station, Grand Central Madison will lead to less crowding at Penn Station. This is very important since Penn Station has been stuffed far beyond capacity for many years and will return to pre-COVID ridership levels in the future. TSTC would like to see our region move toward a truly integrated, unified rail system. This helps get us closer to that vision, including one-seat rides to East Midtown for many stations and seamless transfers to Metro North at Grand Central. It creates more network redundancy and creates more options for accessing many parts of Manhattan and the outer boroughs. We're thrilled this project will soon be online to better serve riders, residents, workers, and visitors to our region. Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia. So next, we're going to have Mayor Alan Beach, followed by Nancy Chaverdi. Mr. Mayor, I think you're muted. There you go.
All right, we're in? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank you so much for doing this project. This is a great increase for our West Hempstead branch that comes through Limbrook and into Malvern. There are many riders that utilize that branch, and having the extra trains makes it a lot more convenient for them to catch the trains in that area instead of coming to the main station in Limbrook. It's much appreciated having the other extra stops in Limbrook, trains going into Manhattan and the new station at Grand Central. It'd be much more convenient for all my communities here in Limbrook, and it's just a win-win for all our residents in Limbrook and Malvern and right down the Hempstead branch, West Hempstead branch. Many West Hempstead residents utilize our main station in Limbrook because of the lack of trains that come through the West Hempstead branch. Now with this increase, it'll be a lot more utilized by those residents and less more cars coming into this area. With that being said, I much appreciate it once again for all your hard work and appreciate every effort that you've done for Limbrook in the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So next we're going to have Nancy Chaverdi, followed by Mayor Kevin Fitzgerald.
I don't have to. Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, my name is Nancy Chaverdi. I'm a resident of Great Neck Plaza. I'm also an urban planner myself. So I come to you with the understanding of your dilemma. And at the same time, I like to offer a solution. I thank you for adding more community meetings to hear us out and holding so many meetings. I know you've been working on this for a long time and all the hard work that went into it. And I do understand based on my research that this was partially came as a result of past elected officials and Port Washington residents that did not want to work with MTA to add a pocket track that would allow for continued service, but that affected all of the communities of Port Washington. And I'm suggesting maybe you consider adding trains coming from Great Neck because we do have a pocket track. Maybe you could consider that in the interim while the town of Hempstead officials work with you to add a pocket track at Port Washington. I do understand MTA came up with this schedule thinking it would be more equitable across the whole region. And I'm asking you to consider that communities on the Port Washington line do not have other comparable options. Like for example, Queens has multiple options, including great bus service into the city, whereas Great Neck and all the other communities do not. If we want to take a bus from here, from Great Neck to, let's say, Penn Station, it would take more than an hour and a half. So we heavily rely on the Long Island Railroad. Many of us only have one car among our families. We moved here to be able to have access to the train, and it's really cutting down our options, especially people with kids and families, which is made, a lot of the residents of the Port Washington line, as well as Great Neck, are families with kids.
Please conclude your remarks. I'm sorry.
That's it? Oh.
It was just, you know, if you could finish up, your 2-minute timer has expired. Okay, so that just, you know, again, a reminder to everyone, please try to, keep remarks to 2 minutes. Obviously we want to hear from everybody and we want to do so in an equitable fashion. So next we're gonna have Mayor Kevin Fitzgerald, followed by Feng Nan. I think you're muted, Mr. Mayor.
That better?
Yes, sir.
Thank you to the MTA for allowing residents and elected representatives to comment on the draft schedule. Over the past few years, the village of Fall Park, along with its neighboring villages on the main line, have endured significant construction and disturbances to our daily lives. The new schedules as presented will allow for the residents of Fall Park to reap a benefit from the aforementioned inconveniences. The draft schedules now make living in Fall Park even more attractive than it already is. Some of the highlights for Fall Park residents of this enhanced service are more AM peak trains, which allows for more flexibility. So if you're rushing for a train, you don't have to rush. You can catch the next one in 20 minutes or a half hour. More AM peak trains before 6:15 AM, which will allow for better seat availability on those early trains. Right now, the 6:14 train, nobody ever gets a seat in Fall Park. There'll be a lot more seats. More midday trains that allow for every half hour instead of every hourly train, which is about a 50% increase. More weekend trains, which similarly will now be every half hour instead of hourly, which is approximately a 20% increase. And lastly, more frequent stops at Fall Park post the PM rush. This will allow our residents to be able to stay in the city longer, enjoying whatever event they are attending and not have to worry about making a train. I want to thank you for these significant improvements to the schedules, not only as the mayor of Fall Park, but as a daily commuter on the Long Island Railroad. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So next we're gonna have Feng Nan, followed by Elisa Pica. Fang, if you could make sure to accept our invitation. Otherwise, we'll just come back to you later. Okay, we'll come back to you if you're still on. So next we're gonna have Elisa Pica, followed by Lori Scheinman. Elisa, I think you're muted.
Good evening, everyone. It's very nice to see you today, and thank you very much for having these extra public hearings so you can get public comments on the new schedules. My name is Lisa Pica. I am the Deputy Commissioner of Economic Development and Planning here at Suffolk County, and I'm making comments this evening on behalf of the Suffolk County Executive Steve Ballone. Suffolk County congratulates the MTA, Long Island and Long Island Railroad for completing and delivering a transformational project to benefit Long Island and the region. Suffolk County residents look forward to additional service to Manhattan, a time-saving direct connection to the East Side, more reliable and resilient service, and greater frequency of reverse commute and intra-island train choices. Ronkonkoma branch in particular benefits with frequent scheduled service to two Manhattan terminals, plus additional off-peak and reverse peak service as well. Suffolk County has been an ardent supporter of rail expansion infrastructure needed to deliver the new Grand Central Madison service. Our residents are already realizing the reliability benefits of the completed double track from Farmington to Ronkonkoma. Suffolk County supported the third track, although located in Nassau, we recognize it's critical to the delivery of service here in Suffolk County. We also supported the Mid-Suffolk Yard here at Ronkonkoma so that adequate overnight storage would be available to deliver service throughout the Long Island Railroad service territory. Suffolk County's Connect Long Island strategy emphasizes smart growth and transit-oriented development to towns and villages throughout Suffolk County. It was initiated with the expectation of enhanced rail service that will be implemented later this year. Suffolk County is also innovating our transportation service, both reimagining our bus service and introducing bus rapid transit along Route 110, which will connect 3 Long Island Railroad branches in Suffolk County. Suffolk County and Town of Islip are partnering with each other and the private sector to plan for a midway crossing at Ronkonkoma, providing walkable connection from the station to a relocated North Terminal at Long Island MacArthur Airport. We're taking maximum advantage of over $15 billion of rail improvements that come to fruition this year, as well as unprecedented availability of state and federal infrastructure funds. Suffolk County looks forward to the initiation of Grand Central Madison service and to a continued partnership in serving Suffolk County and regional rail service needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elisa. So next we're gonna have Lori Scheinman, followed by Marnie Schwartz.
Hi, I'm Lori Scheinman. Thank you very much for allowing me to express my concerns about the current plans. I'm a 22-year resident along with my husband and children. I owned a retail store for 6 years that was nationally recognized prior to selling it in 2018. I currently run 2 businesses that operate in Port that employ many local and Manhattan employees. Several of my employees who originally lived in Manhattan chose to move to Port, requiring their partner or spouse to commute to the city. The express train was the key selling point to their changing their lives. I also own residential and commercial real estate in the town, and many of my tenants commute to Manhattan and have expressed their grave concerns over the elementary school drop-off time and getting to their Manhattan jobs on time with the new schedule and the elimination of the express trains. But most important and personal to me is that 3 of my 5 grown children who currently work in Manhattan are deliberating moving to either Westchester, which is far less expensive, or Port, where they feel that the express commute will make it worth the extra money. These new young families, mine or others, are at the heart of tomorrow's Port Washington. I'm very concerned that we can't afford to lose them because they are the future of Port. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Lori. So next we're gonna have Marnie Schwartz, followed by Shari Friedman.
Hi, thank you very much for having me to speak. Like the previous speaker, the commute times to from Port Washington were a key decision or a key factor when making my decision to move to Port Washington. I'm a new resident. I've lived here for less than 2 years, and my family chose Port Washington specifically for the express train, for the easy access to the city. You know, for working parents, 10 minutes might not seem like a lot, but it's the difference between, you know, seeing your kids in the morning before they go to school or not. It's the difference between being home for school activities, for daycare pickup, for having dinner with your family. And, you know, the families in this town are the heart of the town. We love it. And we might not have chosen it, honestly, if it hadn't been for the express train. So we're very concerned about the impact that this will have, not only on our family, but on the community that we are, you know, have grown to love over the last few years.
Okay, thank you, Marnie. Okay, so next up, we are going to have Shari Friedman, followed by Marios Michaelides.
Am I there? Here I am.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right, my name is Sherry Friedman. I'm a resident of Great Neck, living here for 32 years.
I think we might have lost you.
2-minute commute to Manhattan. We're working on the west side in the city. That is why we chose here. If we were working on the east side, we would have looked in Westchester. That's we came to Great Neck for this express train. We will now feel the negative effect of the new train schedule by taking away all of the express trains. My husband has to be at work for 8:30, so you're leaving him either for 7:15, he'll be there way too early, or 7:55, now he'll be there late. So you're not even giving us any options. It's on top of which it's also going to now be in a longer commuting time. Where's the surveying of all the people? My husband has been on the train for 32 years. I not as long as him, but in the 32 years, he has never once had anybody question where you're working, if you're on the east side or west side. Nobody's ever asked any of them. He's also travels with the same group of people for many, many years now. Same thing. They all work on the west side or some are downtown. None of them will be on the Grand Central line. The proposed schedule for Great Neck really is not fair with only those 2 trains during rush hour. We're asking to please put those rush hour trains, the express trains, some of them back on. It seems the only fair thing to do, considering that is part why we moved to Great Neck was for this, and you're taking away something that's a very key value. And it seems that the Great Neck Port Washington line is the only train line that is being hurt here. And I wish that you guys would come some consideration to not let us get hurt. And if you can please review that. Thank you. Appreciate you letting us speak.
Thank you, Shari. Okay, so next we're gonna have Marios Michaelides, followed by Lisa Pinkard Adams.
I'm sorry. Sorry, I was on mute there. Thanks again, Marios Michaelides, resident of Port Washington. I've been riding the train now for about a year as a new resident. My concern here is it's not even the express train so much as the drastic reduction in viable trains for commuting times. We're talking about, cutting our number of trains more than in half. And this will be such a bad situation. By the time it gets to Great Neck, it will be more than full. As it is right now, the express trains in the morning are standing room only when we get to Great Neck, and the local trains in the morning that are not even express, there are not many residents and riders waiting at the Queen stations to take the train in. So, I understand if the Queens ridership would like some more options. I think the number of trains should be restored to the Port Washington line, starting in Port Washington rather than starting in Bayside. That doesn't make much sense to me. It should be restored there. And if some extra stops, need to be scheduled in Queens, then that's fine. But penalizing Port Washington, Plandome, Manhasset, Great Neck, I think is very unfair. And that's not to mention the afternoon commute. 1 per hour from each location is just tough to swallow. And I know my time is up here, but really quickly, we're all back at work, and in the fall, it's only going to be more people back at work with everyone, finishing up their vacation. So please, everyone, just keep this in mind. This has been several calls now that the loyal ridership has commented, and please just take that into consideration into some schedule changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Marios. So next we're gonna have Lisa Pinkard Adams, followed by Anthony Chin. Lisa, if you could accept our invitation to speak, otherwise we'll come back to you. Okay, we'll try to come back to you, Lisa. So next we're gonna have Anthony Chin, followed by Linda Maslow.
Hello. My name is Anthony Chen. I am a resident of Great Neck, New York. I've been a longtime resident, and one of the speaker mentioned earlier about taking the bus, and I totally remember that, taking the N20, N21 to Flushing and catching the 7 train. It takes more than an hour and a half. And as a resident of Thomaston right now, I know a couple years ago we did the pocket train expansion, and the idea behind it was that it would maintain the quality of service that we experienced back then, and you guys would maintain it. But it doesn't sound like that's going to happen when you change from 6 train over down to 2 trains for the morning rush hours. And that's it. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to speak with you guys.
Okay, thank you very much. So next we're going to have I think it's either Linda or Jeffrey Maslow, followed by Karen Lynn Siegel. Okay, I think Linda or Jeff might not be on. So we're going to have Karen Lynn Siegel, followed by Mehul Shah. You're muted, doctor.
Hi, good evening.
Hello.
Yes, hi. Yes, my name is Karen Lynn Siegel, and I moved to Great Neck in 1959 and went to Great Neck North High. But a lot of my life was still in Manhattan. My dance classes, our memberships at all the museums, and the theater going, and the People's Symphony concerts that my parents took us to. And my mother was always, even at a young age, comfortable letting me go on the railroad because she knew it was pretty direct and easy. It was a major draw for us. We could even walk from Great Neck Estates to the train. And I now live in Thomaston for 42 years. And as an older person now, taking the train into the city is a lot easier than driving in, particularly now that my husband has Parkinson's. So hopefully with COVID being more or less conquered and getting back to more life going into the city, cutting out the express trains from Great Neck is a real disappointment. I think you can see people across the lifespan have spoken to you. And it's negatively impacting the quality of our lives. I think it reduces mass transit options in a time when we need even more of that. You do hope that COVID will be at least more manageable, so going back into the city will be safer for all of us. And I think it was bad faith, what you promised us, particularly here in Thomaston. I think it's time for you to show good faith and not cut back, but improve your service. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Again, just a reminder, please try to keep your remarks to 2 minutes. So we're going to have Mehul Shah next, followed by Marjorie Fisher. Mehul, you're muted. There you go.
Hey, how are you? So my name is Mehul Shah. I'm a longtime resident of Manhasset. I just want to again reiterate, like many people have already, my disappointment in the cut services on the Port Washington line. It seems that of all the train lines we have in the Long Island Railroad, we are the only ones who are, with this expansion, sustaining a cutback in services, particularly in the rush hour commute with extended commute times now, and most concerning is now the commute back home, in which it's hourly, depending on which station you choose to commute out of. So particularly for people who have been already commuting to Penn Station, they are now experiencing actually a decrease in service from our line. Those that are going to be commuting to Grand Central do have that option, and of course that is great. But again, extended commute times is very disappointing, and I would like to see that you guys are taking notice of our concerns. That's all.
Thank you, Mehul. Okay, so next we are going to have Marjorie Fisher, followed by Josh Windsor. Okay, Marjorie, you're muted.
Hi, my name is Marjorie Fisher. I would like to thank you for hearing us out. I've been commuting on the line, Port Washington line for several years now, and I speak on behalf of moms and dads and their kids, all who are going to lose out at the early morning hours when they were able to be with each other, and now they can't and show up at work at the same time. And what I'm worried about is some of your some of the panelists have spoken about the benefit to the environment, and I don't see it. I see people changing and deciding to drive in instead, because they have very, a much more limited choice of trains, and they're going to take a lot longer. And I personally go down into Penn Station without ever checking when the next train is, because I just wait, even though it's not so appetizing right now. And I won't do that anymore because it's going to be at least probably close to an hour wait if I miss the train. So I thank you for listening on behalf, and I speak mostly on behalf of families that are going to lose out, dads who want to be part of their kids' life, who aren't going to make it home for dinner and won't be there for breakfast. So I totally appreciate you listening, and I hope that you find a way to add some express trains, and to remember that those of us who work every day in the city are dependent on them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marjorie. So next we're going to have Josh Windsor, followed by Eric DeJong.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good afternoon. My name is Josh Windsor, and like many Long Islanders, I've been waiting for years for the East Side access to finally arrive. We're very pleased and look forward to using it. I appreciate the conflicts that a huge project like this must give rise to. My contribution is to say that many of us abandoned public transport during the pandemic and used our cars for commutation. We would like to break the personal transportation habit and go back to commuting by the LIRR. The MTA should be encouraging this by increasing the efficiency of public transport. Increasing the commute time by eliminating or reducing express trains will not increase workers' productivity and will not encourage commuters to return to the LIRR for travel to and from work. Please keep Long Island efficient and productive. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Josh. So next we're gonna have Eric DeJong, followed by Catherine Dillon.
Hello, my name is Eric DeJong. I am a brand new Manhasset resident as of a couple of weeks ago. So as many of the panelists have mentioned, we moved to Manhasset from Queens, actually. So I understand what that Queens commute is like for the explicit purpose of being close to the express train. To move that away a couple of months into our move is really frustrating, and I would say a bit of a betrayal of the trust that has been built up across the lines. I'm also concerned by what I would consider misleading at best statements from the MTA. There's a quote that I read from MTA spokesperson Joanna Flores. Port Washington branch morning rush hour service is increasing by 70% and by 43% during the evening rush hour under the new schedules. That is factually incorrect for the majority of the stations on the line, many of whom you've heard from today. In the current schedules, there's 5 trains between 6:53 and 8:15 a.m. from Manhasset. 4 of those take 27 to 31 minutes into Manhattan. In the proposed schedule, there are also 5 trains in that same time period. All of those take 36 to 38 minutes from Manhasset and alternate between Grand Central and Penn Station. So it's factually incorrect to say that morning rush hour service on the Port Washington branch is increasing by 70%. This is not accurate for individual stations, and so really doesn't actually mean much to the majority of commuters and seems very much like PR speak trying to get all of us on board with your changes. Now, I understand that it's difficult to add more trains given the history between North Hempstead and Port Washington and the refusal to add more space for more trains. That's something that the town needs to agree to right away, and I would urge them to do so. However, it's absolutely in the MTA's control to keep the trains true express at the 30-minute mark. The MTA should restore these express trains right away, stop providing this misleading at best data in your news statements, and work with North Hempstead to come to a solution long-term to add more capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next, we're gonna have Catherine Dillon, followed by Jonathan Scheinberg.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I live in Manhasset and have commuted for many, many years on the Port Washington branch. I eagerly awaited the arrival of East Side Access. I wasn't even sure I would still be working when it finally arrived. I'm thrilled that it's here, but I'm so disappointed in what's happened to this Port Washington branch. And as many people said, the way it's changed, they came to this community for this reason. So what does that now mean about the values of the homes of this community? But I do want to point out also something that I think is very disturbing. This is the same branch that was in what the railroad called Tier 1 for cancellation, which meant that no matter where on the system something went wrong, this is the branch that they canceled. And when I signed up for emails, I would get something that said problem in Jamaica and all these lines are in trouble. The Port Washington branch is unaffected, followed by 5 or 6 emails that say the 511 is canceled, the 525 is canceled, the 544 is canceled, the 611 is canceled. They canceled them all and put 1,200 people from those express trains onto a local train every stop to Port Washington with 2,400 people instead of 1,200, jammed in like sardines. And when I asked why the same people, why Port Washington, why is this branch in Tier 1 for cancellation always? And the answer was because it has an impact, it inconveniences the fewest number of riders. So this looks like something that, I'm sorry to say this, but I think the railroad, maybe they don't appreciate this branch, or maybe no decision makers live on this branch. And I don't mean to say they did this deliberately, but maybe they're just not aware of what is the impact on this branch when they put it in Tier 1 for cancellation for decades. I mean, decades. The same families are missing dinner. The same people are late because they live in tier 1 and the problem was elsewhere. But they would tell me, oh, sorry, you live in tier 1. Thank you. I wish you would bring back this service and treat the Port Washington branch as well as the others. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So next we're going to have Jonathan Scheinberg, followed by Nick Kozra. I'm sorry, I'm going to struggle with your last name. Kozrazada.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good evening. I'm a resident of Port Washington. I appreciate the forum and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with everyone on this important issue. I do think the MTA and a lot of these, affiliated groups are very disingenuous with a lot of what has transpired to date. I think a lot of it is speak, that it's not addressing the real pragmatic, issues and concerns that people actually have who actually ride this line. I've lived in Port Washington for almost 10 years. And, I think after looking at these schedules, I really honestly feel that we should start over and rebuild these schedules, from the frequency to each location and, the express trains. A lot of people spoke earlier about, that from basically Great Neck to Port Washington, this is the only access we have into the city. Driving is a nightmare, and you're going to push a lot more people to do that. I grew up in Bayside, Queens for many, many years. We had tremendous amount of optionality into the city. We take the city bus, express bus. You don't have any of that from basically from Great Neck to Port Washington. I think we really need to consider rebuilding these schedules from scratch, have inclusion from the people who actually ride the trains, because it doesn't sound like any of that was taken into account. It sounds like this was a mathematical exercise for convenience, not pragmatic at all. And we should, build that pocket track, build a second track between Great Neck and Port Washington. And I really think we should reconsider this, because what it is now, it sounds like, a lot of people are saying put a Band-Aid on it. And I don't think that's an efficient way. I think you need to really start from scratch and start over. Thank you very much for letting me be heard, and have a great evening.
Thank you. So next we're going to have Nick K, followed by Matthias Pena Herrera.
Thank you very much, Nick. Great job on the pronunciation of the last name, by the way. Kozrazada, you nailed it. I want to say all for letting us join. Living in Merrick with my family for a while now and working in the city for the last 7 years, always on the east side. It's been really rough having to commute to the west side, only to have to get all the way back to the east side. We're working in the city on a team with team members, many of which are commuting from Long Island. We felt a lot of pain, and we've been working hard to get everybody back into the city. So I can't tell you how many positive remarks we've heard from people that are just excited to not have to deal with the subway anymore. I'm disappointed to hear so many negative remarks from the other lines. I understand how difficult it must be, but speaking for myself and my family, taking an hour-long train just to get to the west side, to then have to take multiple subways to get back to the east side, only to then have to then walk another 5 to 10 blocks, finally make it into the office, dripping in sweat, and then do it all over again 9 hours later. I'm thrilled to have a one-way to get into the office, even if it's multiple stops along the way. I know you guys tried to do it as equitable as possible, but how much more difficult can it be? You're going from 6 stops to 3 stops in an hour. I mean, 5 to 10 extra minutes in your day. We're dealing with an hour and a half, 2 hours each way. So I'm thrilled. Thank you guys for keeping us in the loop. You're going to allow me so much more time to spend with my family going forward. So really thrilled for all this, and happy that you guys let us join the call today. So thanks again.
Okay, thank you, Nick. So next we're going to have Matthias Pena Herrera, followed by Nan Feng. Oh, Feng Nan, I'm sorry.
Hi, can you hear me okay, Nick? Okay, great, thanks. So thank you all for the opportunity to speak. I'm a resident of Little Neck, New York, and also someone who works on the east side of Manhattan. So I'm beyond excited for this new service. While I'm thrilled to see this new service at Grand Central Madison finally come to life after years of waiting, I must say that I was quite disappointed to see the impact on service to Douglaston and Little Neck. There is a new cutoff at the Bayside station which alienates the Douglaston and Little Neck stations from receiving the same benefits as the Bayside one. Their train times will be substantially increased. However, it excludes thousands of residents in Eastern Queens. As you know, Eastern Queens serves as some of the last remaining pockets of affordable housing within New York City with co-op communities that allow people the ability to live in safe areas with a reasonable commute to New York City. These are hardworking middle-class families, and the schedule change will adversely impact their daily commutes by reducing service. While I hear the many valid concerns of individuals who live and commute from the later stops out east on the Port Washington line, we need to keep in mind the sheer number of folks who use the service as the train gets closer to the city at stations like Little Neck, Douglaston, Bayside, Auburndale, and Broadway. Douglaston and Little Neck specifically are technically still part of New York City, and yet we continue to be quite limited on transportation options because of our proximity to the nearest subway stations. While our communities are serviced by some express buses, evening commutes can take upwards of 2 hours one way, and this is just not feasible as we try to encourage people back to the offices. I sincerely hope and urge the Long Island Railroad to consider using Little Neck as the cutoff, not Bayside, to ensure that all Queens residents are serviced by this increased service to the city. No one, absolutely no one on the Port Washington line should have a decrease of service as a result of this multi-billion-dollar project. And it is essential that we not forget that we are still Queens residents, and this revised schedule feels like Douglaston and Little Neck are forgotten. I thank you for listening and for the tremendous amount of work that has been poured into this essential project.
Thank you, Matthias. Okay, so next we are going to have Fang Nan, followed by Joe Arena. Fang, you're muted.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yep, so yeah, thanks. Yeah, I missed the earlier chance to speak, but yeah, I appreciate letting me speak. So I'm a resident in Great Neck to Washington branch, and you know, so I think we've heard enough concerns about the service cut and the negative impact on the residents here. Just wanted to add that you know, so people may not be familiar with the level of crowdedness that the trains are here. So even on the express trains, we have very packed riders, and then the trains are so packed that you know, people are standing on the doorways, and so when we get to sometimes when we get to Bayside and there for the extra stops, and there are not many people actually hopping on to the trains. So, but now with the new schedules, we have completely cut off the express trains and even reduced the you know, peak hour local trains. So that means that all the people will be packed onto these fewer trains, and by the time we get to Little Neck, Bayside, there'll be no more room for people to get on, and this is like it's tremendously negative customer service on the part of MTA, and considering the you know, the public safety aspects and you know, COVID-19 is still going on, I think it really encourage the MTA to really start from scratch and consider a better plan, but not without cutting the express train. Yeah, that's my input. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so next we're going to have Joe Arena, followed by, I had it here, Lisa Pinkard Adams. And after Lisa, we don't have anyone else who both registered to speak and is currently present on the call, at least that we can see. So if you want to speak or you have been skipped or whatever, please just let us know in the Q&A function and I will call you in order, okay? Thank you very much. So Lisa, please take it away. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. Joe, I'm sorry. My fault.
Yeah, actually, I'm a reporter for News 12 Long Island, so I don't have a comment right now. I'm just listening in. Just wondering if at some point, though, during this discussion, there's going to be a statement from the MTA tonight on this call.
I guess you could refer to our earlier remarks or our closing, and if you need anything, you can contact the press office. Other than that. Okay, just want to double check. Thank you. No problem. Okay, so then we are going to move to Lisa Pinkert Adams. And as I said, after Lisa, we don't have anyone else who's currently on the call that also registered to speak. So if you'd like to speak, now is your chance. Okay, I have a couple of people, so just keep keep coming on and letting us know. And Lisa, go ahead. Okay, Lisa, you're not accepting our invitation to speak. Okay, so next we'll have Jung Im speak. If you guys could please let us know what your name is. A lot of you are responding with, as your name is a anonymous attendee. I would, I really need your name in order to make sure that you can speak. Okay, so I think so. Chung, I have you for sure. How about okay? I think you're under JH. So we're gonna keep looking to see if we can get you on. Just be patient with us. Thank you.
Okay, I think I can do it now.
Yeah, now we can hear you. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I think for me, I've been a Manhasset resident for over 13 years, and I've been commuting every day to the city before the pandemic and still continue to commute into the city. And I love the fact that you're offering East Side access to Grand Central Station. Just like as many of the speakers today, I resonate with the fact that you are limiting the amount of express trains. And as a result, it really makes it difficult for me to set my schedule to now go into the city and now come home with limited times, and then also the extended commute because of the lack of express trains. So I just implore MTA to really reconsider. And I think there was a previous gentleman who said, can we just revamp the schedule in general? Because it really doesn't help Port Washington residents who are, I live in Manhasset, but it doesn't really help me when I'm on the west side. It would have helped me maybe 10 years ago, but now it doesn't help me when I work on the west side and there's no opportunity or limited access now, I should say, to really catch a train in Penn Station. So thank you for letting me talk.
Of course. So next up, we're going to have Michelle Rothbard. And again, if you would like to speak, please let us know. Oh, Michelle, you're muted. I'm sorry. You have to start from the beginning. You're still muted.
Oh, okay, got it.
There you go.
My name is Michelle Rothbard, and I thank you for allowing all of us to speak about this. I was brought up in Great Neck. I live in Port Washington. I also work in the city. My son works in the city, and my husband works in the city. And he actually takes one of the earlier express trains and has to go to Jersey City. The point is that he will not have a seat on the train, as somebody else mentioned, and it just seems like we're being penalized. I understand that you probably have a balanced reason to maybe do what you're doing, but it's going to hurt the Port Washington branch that we've all known and love and moved here because of. And my real question is, which I noticed that, we're commenting here, but I'd like to know your feedback as to what is in the works or what you can do to alleviate this issue with the Port Washington branch, where you can bring back these express trains, which were beloved by the community. And again, it's unbelievable to us that we would have to schedule our lives based on missing a train by 10 minutes and having to wait an hour. We have enjoyed being able to take the train in and out just so that we wouldn't have to drive. So everybody here has commented, but I would really like to know from you what would be a resolution, if you have one and if you've discussed it, as to bringing back that service. How difficult would it be for you to do it? Like, is it in the cards that you may be able to do it? And if so, what's the impediment? Is the pocket train something that you can put into your budget so that we can have an extra track for the train? Please talk to us so that we know where you are with the possibility of increasing the train, bringing back the schedule that we've loved and enjoyed for, 30, 40 years. Thank you so much for letting us talk. And I appreciate you giving us the feedback as well.
Of course, Michelle, not a problem. Okay, so at this time, we don't have anyone else who's asked to speak. So I'll just want to give it, a minute or so. And if no one else requests to speak, I think we'll probably conclude this meeting. So just, again, if you'd like to speak, feel free to reach out. Now's the time. All right. I don't have anyone else who would like to speak, I think. So again, I'll keep my eyes open, and please feel free to send a message if you are in the Q&A function. But yeah, thank you very much to everyone for coming on tonight and sharing your thoughts on this service plan with us. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy to conclude the meeting.
Thank you, Nick, and thanks everybody for joining us here tonight. I want to echo what Nick said. We are listening. We really appreciate your having taken the time to speak with us tonight about the Grand Central Madison Service Plan. We're taking your concerns seriously and really appreciate your taking the time to share them with us. So please have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.